Yeah, it's definitely eye-opening when you're at ground zero of something like that, and how long it affects, and how long everything takes to get back to some semblance of normalcy. I mean, we just got the water boil advisory lifted 3 weeks ago, uh, and to brush my teeth for the first time without bottled water, I was like, "Whoa, I can use the taps. This is this is awesome." It's you take it for granted, but man, when stuff like that happens and suddenly you don't have to dump a gallon of water in the toilet to flush it. Wow, hey, because we didn't have water for a while, or power, or Wi-Fi, or anything.
What is going on, you guys? Welcome into the Takedown on SI YouTube channel. Rick Ucchino here for Sports Illustrated, and my guest at this time needs absolutely no introduction. You know him. You should love him. He is the Rated-R superstar, Adam Copeland, making his massive return at World's End for All Elite Wrestling. So happy you're back. You seem very excited to be back. Glad to see you on my screen again, sir. How's everything going? I appreciate the time.
Well, it's good to be back. It really is, and appreciate you having me. If I look excited, it's because, man, I am. That's the thing with wrestling for me. I am excited because I'm doing the only thing I ever wanted to do. Why wouldn't I be excited? And there's been years, obviously, or times where you're like, oh man, this storyline's a bit of a bummer. It's not hitting, it's not firing, those things. But you're still doing the only thing I ever wanted to do. So again, I said the moment that I got cleared for this comeback, stepping out into that aisle at the Royal Rumble made the entire thing a victory. No matter what happened from there, just getting back was a victory. And then everything else on top of this, and getting to go to AEW and looking at an entire roster of people that I'd never laid hands on, and finally getting to tell the story that Christian and I wanted to tell. That was big, because that was one that we both felt like we never got the opportunity at the right time. We now was a great time with where we're at in our careers and the knowledge that we would have accrued all of those years. And then now you fast forward to Rated-FTR, which has been talked about for a decade between the three of us. And then to get to come back at Asheville, which is now where we all live, and to be able to donate to the local charities after the hurricane, like it first one streaming on Max, like there's outside of, obviously the real life aspect of the hurricane, there's a lot to be happy about right now. And it's not lost on me. I still really appreciate the fact that I can get back to do this. And I think not having it for 9 years really puts that into perspective for sure.
Yeah, look, a lot of exciting things, and we'll get to those here in a minute. But as you mentioned, there are real life aspects to this. This is a major show, Wednesday, Fight for the Fallen in Asheville, North Carolina, which was just absolutely devastated by Hurricane Helene. And my day job is as a radio news anchor in Cincinnati. So like, you look at the news cycle, it moves so fast. I remember covering Helene as it was coming in, and maybe for like a week afterwards, we're focusing on the devastation of everything. And then it's like, I think there was another hurricane that happened, and then it just moved on to the next thing. And before you know it, it's like people have already moved on, except for obviously those folks who are there. It's not just that easy to kind of move on. How are things logistically right now in Asheville, North Carolina?
Yeah, it's definitely eye-opening when you're at ground zero of something like that, and how long it affects, and how long everything takes to get back to some semblance of normalcy. I mean, we just got the water boil advisory lifted 3 weeks ago, and to brush my teeth for the first time without bottled water, I was like, "Whoa, I can use the taps. This is awesome." It's you take it for granted, but man, when stuff like that happens and suddenly you don't have to dump a gallon of water in the toilet to flush it. Wow, hey, because we didn't have water for a while, or power, or Wi-Fi, or anything. So yeah, it puts it in perspective, and it definitely, when you see these natural disasters happen on television, you see it and go, oh my God, that's horrible. But then here comes the next thing. It's ADD generation. And but you drive around here and there's still trees piled up to the streetlights. There's still roofs missing. There's still people that don't have homes. It hit this area because this area is not built for it either. We don't get hurricanes up here. We're far from the coast. We're inland. And I think that was part of it. But you get that much rain, and in that short amount of time frame, it rolls down the mountains. Guess where it goes?
Yeah.
So it was really, really bad, and still is. But the community is starting to try and dig itself out. But when I found out that we're doing the show here January 1st, man, it just made me so happy because historically Asheville's not necessarily a wrestling town. For a while there, NWA ran here weekly back in the 80s, but at some point it just became a non-wrestling town, and I don't know if that's changed, but it felt like coming here was the right thing to do to try and help this community. And sometimes that's more important, right?
Yeah.
But it's exciting, to basically have this, my adopted home now. The FTR guys, they live here, raised here. We get to team up on the first one that streams on Max and then give back to local charities. I mean, that's all win-win.
Yeah. I mean, I have no, I live in Cincinnati. Like I'll take that weather, 24/7, 365. We don't deal with a whole lot of this, knock on wood, right? Like we don't deal with a whole lot of that stuff. So I have no like personal experience with something of this magnitude. Yeah. But like just reading up on what's going on there, recovery efforts, I feel like have to go far beyond, the physical and rebuilding. There's a lot mentally that people have to recover from. Like, how do you even begin to try to pick up the pieces from something like this?
Well, yeah, because there's constant reminders still, and there will be for a few years. Like it's just not going to go away. Every time you look at a certain view and there's not trees there anymore, oh, that changed. That even didn't fully sink in until I was talking to my youngest, and she said, "Dad, I just really wish things would go back to the way they were before the hurricane." I was like, "Oh man." You forget the emotional toll that it takes on kids because they're used to patterns and staying, trying to keep structure for them. And hurricanes don't care about structure. They're the opposite of structure. So it's been interesting, but again, you got to try and take it and go, okay, it's a learning experience, and you gain strength from it. Lousy way to have to do it, but you do. Anytime you have things in life that knock you on your ass, it's up to you. Do you get up or do you stay down? So thankfully here, everybody's getting up.
I mean, you personally are somebody who thrives on challenges in your life. You talked about that in the World's End media scrum, but like this is something, horse of different color, whatever idiom you want to use to describe this. How does this compare to other challenges that you faced in your life?
Well, this one is so out of your control, right? And most of my challenges I have control of, or of an aspect of being able to try and guide this challenge, or I know what I got to work through. But with this kind of thing, it's like, okay, well, how do you even approach this? So really, more than anything, it was like my brother-in-law and I found a highway to get out of town. We'd fill up on supplies, fill up the pickup truck, come back and get out and just start getting supplies out to people. And that's what a lot of people did. If their homes weren't affected, if they didn't lose anyone, they got out and they got working. And so many of the churches here were great organizational kind of depots to be able to take things, or they needed deliverers. Okay, right, I got a pickup truck, let's go.
Yeah, just kind of piggybacking off of the whole mental aspect of everything, getting to do this show here now on Wednesday, Fight for the Fallen, obviously a big show for AEW, first to be streaming on Max, but just for the area to be able to, give everybody there a sense of normalcy, even if it's just for a night. Like, how important is that?
Well, that to me has always been entertainment, and that's why it's so important. To me, entertainment is one of the things that gets people through. And if you're having a lousy day, or if it was during the pandemic, or if it's, to me, entertainment, a TV show, a game, pro wrestling, a concert, whatever it is, take your pick. That's what it's for. And it's really, really important for people. And I think the pandemic really highlighted that for folks. But yeah, to be able to come here after the devastation that happened here, and to just try and let your hair down and come and yell and scream and have fun. That more than anything, that's kind of my mantra in life now, is just have fun. And if it's not fun, well, then maybe stop doing it. So I think Wednesdays is going to be a good time, and hopefully people can just come and cathartically just yell and scream and do what pro wrestling is supposed to do.
Like, have you tried to prepare yourself for the flood of emotion that's going to be, coming down on you at that moment? I mean, if it was just you, Dax, and Cash getting to team up, for the first time, if it was just your return to AEW, the first time you wrestled Jon Moxley, any of this, it's all of those combined plus all the real life aspects. Like, how do you prepare yourself for something like that?
Dude, it's like 10 pounds of stuff in a 5-pound bag. Like it overwhelming, I'm sure, but also like, yeah, exciting. Yeah, sign me up for that. If you had told me 5-6 years ago, when me and the FTR guys would sit there and go, yeah, just imagine if, oh, just imagine if that, here we are. Come on, and also because the three of us are legitimate friends. Like, we spend birthdays together, our families are together, our kids go to school together, we've all lived through this thing together. Yeah, man, I mean, it was also one of the massive reasons for coming to AEW is those three guys. And I'm at a stage where it's like, it's just about, again, having fun and trying to have these moments, and still finding a way to have these moments this many years in. That's a gift.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, you know, you come back at World's End and immediately you're coming after the new head honcho, the guy who took the AEW World Championship, Jon Moxley, while you were out injured. And this is like one of those things that like hit me, like as soon as it happened, I'm like, oh, wait a minute, we haven't had Copeland and Moxley yet. Like that had to be one of the draws for you as well, to kind of complete that, Thanos Shield Infinity Gauntlet, so to speak, right? You got the first two out of the way. Now here's the final one, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it didn't always work out too well, so that might be a bad omen. But no, man, it's like all three of those guys, they're all just immensely talented. But yeah, coming over here, Moxley he's one of those guys that I went, ooh, man, him and I getting in there could be interesting. And those are the things that's what I get goosebumps over is okay, what kind of story will that be? And AEW's full of them. There's Mox, there's Omega, there's Hangman, there's Jay White, there's Kyle Fletcher, there's Will Ospreay, there's Swerve Strickland, there's Bobby Lashley. Like, that's never happened. Samoa Joe, that's never happened. MJF. I mean, you just keep going down the list, and it's nonstop. Of guys that I've never worked that I can't.
Do you have time to fit all those dudes in?
I don't know. It's going to be tough, but what a great fun challenge.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And you did get to work with Seth. You did get to work with Roman. I mean, add Mox in there. Those are three guys that are, obviously major impact players in this business over the last 10, 12, 15 years, whatever it's been now at this point. But they all have their different styles, right? Like, what do you think is going to be different getting in there and mixing up with Mox as opposed to when you locked up with Seth and Roman?
I think this will be uglier in all the ways I love. I look at Mox as a throwback. He reminds me a little bit of, Terry Funk. He's got a little Roddy Piper to him. He's got like that throwback feel, but with a modern take. And that to me is really exciting, because in coming back, I really started diving into like Nick Bockwinkel matches and Terry Funk matches and a lot of all Japan matches and NWA World Heavyweight title matches where it's like Jack Briscoe and Dory Funk, or like a lot of those styles of matches. So I'd love to just get in there and just have it be a gnarly fight, a gnarly, grappling wrestling, just a hard hitting heavyweight match between two dudes who are over 230 pounds and are just going to take each other's heads off. That sounds like a good night.
It's so weird to hear like people's like, that's not me, man. Like I got like, I trained for a little bit, right? Like I have a little bit of in-ring experience, but man, I could just never get over the fact, like, please just stay away from my nose. Like, don't touch my face, like this, that, and the other thing. Like, you're talking about, this is a great, like, that's got to be a Canadian thing, right? The ingrained, the hockey thing, throwing down, like you guys are just built different north of the border, I think.
Well, look at this face, though. There's not much you can do left to it that hasn't been done. So, those days are gone. My pretty days, my guy liner days are gone. I'm into my my Josh Brolin, Jeff Bridges, like true grit, cope now, I think. But yeah, I mean, hockey players are just built different, right? Like teeth knocked out, miss a shift, nope. Like one of the saved from the Leafs the other night, he got a stick in the face, lost 4 teeth in his mouth guard, didn't miss a shift. They just took the teeth out and gave him his mouth guard back. So but yeah, I don't know, that sounds like fun to me. I relish that. I look for that. That's what still gets you amped up, and that's the thing. I still get amped up. I still get excited when I think about this. So for me, it's just the idea of doing that, getting that match, seeing that on a marquee, Cope versus Mox, that to me, that's one that needed to happen. And you can go, should we do it here? Should we do it here? Should we do it here? It's like, I'm coming back. That's the time to do this and get this going and tell that story. So yeah, it's exciting, man. And then to be able to really fully start kicking it off in Asheville, yeah, with those guys, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and whenever we do get the one-on-one, whether it's on an episode of Dynamite or Collision, pay-per-view down the line, it's all going to be on Max. I mean, this is a big first step in Asheville for AEW as part of this new media rights deal. Just being able to start simulcasting on Max, a brand as old as HBO and established as it is, and to get the video library, up there and certain points of that. How much of a game changer do you think that's going to be for AEW as it moves forward here?
Well, I think it's a great thing when you can be aligned with something that ingrained, and with the way that television and the wrestling industry as a whole is moving toward, ratings are antiquated now, because how do you gather that information and people watching after the fact with DVRs and things like that, streaming, blah, blah, blah. So I think it's an important step to take to move into this realm, because I think everything's going to be moving into this realm at some point. So it's exciting to be involved in the main event of the first show that we're streaming on Max. That's huge, and it's not lost on me. And again, I've always said I'm a designated hitter. Where do you need me? Okay, right now we're moving into Max. You want a recognizable face? Got it. Okay, you need me for this right now. Well, then let's do me and Mox right now then. That's how I look at things, more so than, I got to go from this story to this story to this story. So where are we as a company? Where do you need me? You need my face here for right now, coming off an Emmy nomination, all those things. I get it. Yeah. Cool. Right. Put me here. Let's go. So that's where I'm at. That's where we are. Let's go.
And congratulations on the nomination too, by the way. Congrats on coming back.
It's all very, very, very surreal. If you told me that at 51 years old I'd be nominated for an Emmy on a show that's on Disney, I'd be like, well, how does that happen? I guess it happens.
I mean, we're all just, bobbing our way through life, and we all wind up and I mean, I I went to journalism school, changed to radio, found my way back to journalism, and now my love of wrestling has brought me to this conversation with you here today. It's crazy how we bass-hack our ways into things, like it's just totally weird. But Adam, I appreciate the time, sir. This was a bucket list interview for me. Hopefully we get to talk again down the line. Good luck moving forward.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.